Dad's a stud. Doesn't care whether, you know, it's a
dragon brush and
hello, all right, thank you very much. And yet, no matter how high the cost is to us, it's always much more for the people under our bombs in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine. Here's what our costs would be here in the U.S. if the Iraqi casualties had hit us proportionately. Comparable casualties in our country would mean that every person in Atlanta, Denver, Boston, Seattle, Milwaukee, Fort Worth, Baltimore, San Francisco, Dallas, and Philadelphia would be dead. Every single person. In addition, every person in Vermont, Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, Nebraska, Nevada, Kansas, Mississippi, Iowa, Oregon, South Carolina, and Colorado would be wounded. Every single person. So if this administration won't prescribe the abolishment of war, we have a prescription of our own from Howard Zinn. Quote, civil disobedience is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience. Our problem is that people all over the world have obeyed the dictates of leaders and millions have been killed because of this obedience. Our problem is that people are obedient all over the world in the face of poverty and starvation and stupidity and war. Our problem is that people are obedient while the jails are full of petty thieves and the grand thieves are running the country. That's our problem. In 1967, 42 years ago, 6 Vietnam veterans marched down Fifth Avenue. And they saw an individual holding a sign that said Vietnam Veterans Against the War. And they adopted that sign. And an organization formed that is today the oldest and proudest anti-war veterans organization in the world. Paul Simon sang a song, Still Crazy After All These Years. Well, I'm here to tell you that Vietnam Veterans Against the War is still here after all these years and still organizing after all these years. We call for immediately to bring home all of the troops. We call to support IVAW, which we consider the greatest patriotic organization in the country right now. We ask people to get involved in counter-recruiting, going to the high schools and the colleges, and expose these people for what they are. We call for full funding of the Veterans Administration, so when our veterans come home, they get the proper health care. We call especially about the crimes against women and the sexual abuse against our women in the armed forces, and it must come to a stop now! And we also stand behind our war resistors and our prisoners of conscience. In the beginning, in Vietnam times, VVAW was in the vanguard of the war resistors movement, and we still are today. Years ago, in the north of Ireland, in Derry City, the Brits come in and they started tearing up the floorboard. They started grabbing men individually and putting them in the H blocks in long catch. And the Wolf Tones sang a song about it. And the chorus goes something like this. Armored cars and tanks and guns have come to take away our sons, but we'll stand behind the man who stands behind the wire. And today, this afternoon, BVAW calls upon every individual here to stand behind our war resistors and our prisoners of conscience 100%.
Next, we have Jerry Gordon. Jerry, a personal friend. He's the Secretary of the National Assembly to end the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and occupations. And he's also affiliated with U.S. Labor Against the War. Give him a big hand. He's a real worker for the cause. Come on, Jerry.